What if I told you One Piece was a story about time? What if I were to say to you that behind the layers of comedy, of pirate world-building adventures, of excellently written characters, there was one element that made everything else work? That element is time. On its surface, One Piece is just the story of a rubber pirate with big dreams traveling the seas with his friends. That's the sales pitch anyway. As fans of One Piece, we know that's about as shallow an understanding of this series as one can get. Today, I'm here to offer my take on what makes One Piece so unique. Why, after nearly 25 years of publication, over 1,000 episodes of television, and with its 15th movie releasing later this year, does One Piece keep getting better, whereas every other series that runs even half as long goes down the toilet? I'm here to tell you that One Piece's greatest storytelling strength is time. Now, what do I mean by time? Well, I believe we can break time down into three main aspects that One Piece uses to strengthen its storytelling, but I'd like to start with the one aspect that this completely non-pretentious quote on your screen refers to: patience. One of the core reasons that One Piece not only still works, but continues to thrive so long into the story is because of the important role patience plays in the relationship between the story and the audience. This is a thought I've had about One Piece since the Enies Lobby arc. That the greatest narrative strength this story has is the reader-viewer investment it is able to build through small mysteries, and the promise that these mysteries will be paid off much later. The story of One Piece is able to capitalize on its long-running narrative by building a degree of patience within the audience. It can build this level of patience because there is an implicit promise between the author and the audience that no matter how long it takes, the answers the audience seeks will be paid off, and their patience will be rewarded. This implicit promise isn't something that develops later on in the series. This request for patience is instead a key feature from the very beginning. At the start, the series introduces two massively important narrative elements that receive no explanation: the One Piece and the King of the Pirates. The One Piece itself, what the story is named after, is wrapped in mystery with not a drop of concrete information given about it until nearly 500 episodes of the story. And it is only around 100 episodes earlier that the audience learns what being the King of the Pirates means to the main character, a character whose catchphrase and drive from the very beginning has been to become this king. Both of these core elements of the series are still shrouded in mystery, but because of the promise that there will be more answers, the audience is able to wait patiently as the story continues to unfold. Another example of this promise, one where it has already been fully honored, is the entire Enies Lobby arc. This story arc is the 16th arc of One Piece and serves as a massive payoff for a key crew member's long hinted at backstory that began arguably when the character was first introduced in the 8th story arc. One Piece promises an important backstory with the character of Nico Robin, continues to nurture that promise, and then pays it off several story arcs later. It didn't subvert expectations by having this long-promised backstory be irrelevant or a red herring. The pact between the author and the audience was honored, rewarding the audience's patience for the amount of time it took to both set up and pay off this plot point. The reason that the audience is able to be patient with One Piece is because while the series is commonly planting seeds for future plot developments, it does not linger on them, which can be a crutch for other series that seem more obsessed with future events than present ones. In fact, the story of One Piece seems almost oblivious to the plot teases because far more often than not, the main characters don't even know what the audience does. While the seeds are planted efficiently, the reason One Piece works and doesn't feel like a massive tease is because the story focuses first and foremost on the adventures of the crew, getting you to care about these characters so that when these payoffs happen down the line, you are invested in how they impact the characters and the heart of the story. There are too many examples of these long-teased plot points to list, but perhaps the most clear-cut of them all is the Summit War saga. Nearly the entirety of the events in the saga is the result of a culmination of narrative elements planted throughout the first half of the series. The audience is first told about the main players that will shape this climactic saga back in the 10th story arc, Drum Island, and throughout the rest of the narrative leading up to the Summit War saga, the audience sees small snippets of background story going on that eventually builds to this organic climax which completely alters the world of the series, but this plotline only comes to the forefront of the story when it becomes significant to how it impacts the main characters. Thus, The audience, who have been waiting patiently for 11 arcs or about 400 episodes for the building blocks of the story to come together, feel like it was worth the wait for a massive payoff. In that way, the promise between author and audience is an exchange. For well thought out and cathartic payoffs, the audience agrees to be patient. One Piece is a story that uses the long time frame of its narrative to its advantage by rewarding the patience of its audience. Patience isn't the only element of time that gives One Piece its unique storytelling strength. There is also the in-universe manipulation of time, which creates a feeling for the audience that they are part of a sprawling epic, generations, even centuries in the making. This use of time within the narrative itself creates a sensation of destiny and fate, wrapped in a mystery that needs to be unraveled, which keeps the audience invested in uncovering more. This concept of a long history playing into events within the modern story, with secrets of that history being revealed as the narrative unfolds, is not unique to One Piece. You can look at series like Game of Thrones and point to that element as a reason that people fell in love with those worlds. However, I dare say that One Piece uses this element of its storytelling so flawlessly that it should be looked at as an example for all others trying something similar. That is because One Piece doesn't just tease possible interpretations of answers that may or may not guide the actions of its present-day characters. Instead, it makes a promise to its audience that those answers, which are actively being sought, will have an impact on the present story. Look no further than the Poneglyphs. Nico Robin's desire to learn more about them and uncover what happened during the blank century is a massive part of her character, but also puts her in direct conflict with the main antagonistic force of the series, the world government, who wants to keep what happened 800 years ago a secret. Even on a less grand scale, the history of most of the locations that the Straw Hats visit directly shapes those civilizations and how they interact with the main characters: Jaya and Skypiea, the Saobody Archipelago, and Fishman Island. Because the story establishes such a rich history at the locations the crew visits, the lead characters often feel like a wave of change washing over the world, like we are watching history being made before our eyes. This sense of history therefore allows for the viewer to become engaged and enthralled, not only in the past, but in the current change the crew is causing, and the inevitable future this change will bring. That is why, often at the end of sagas, the series shows us little snippets of how life has gone on for the people and societies that the Straw Hats have passed through. It is this guarantee of changing long-established history that sets One Piece apart and keeps the audience invested. Although, it isn't just a promise of change that is set up through this history, but also a feeling of fate, that some things are destined to echo the past. Over and over again, we are shown that the previous generation of pirates serve as foils for the modern characters. This couldn't be more overt than with the characters of Monkey D. Luffy and Gold D. Roger. It might as well be that every single old, wise character that the Straw Hats come across will inevitably compare Luffy to Roger, saying how similar the two are. It's such an obvious comparison that it's not even worth diving deeper into, but there are other repeating elements of prior generations, like a rhythm to the past. Characters like Usopp and his father, Robin and her mother, Frankie and his mentor Tom, all serve similar roles in their respective generations. This creates a feeling for the audience that there could be some guiding hand of destiny that has been years in the making, pushing this crew toward a certain future, which in turn creates a sense in the audience that this particular crew, the Straw Hat Pirates, is more important to the history of this world than one might have initially believed. And that ties back into the belief that this crew is a wave of change washing over the world wherever they travel. Events of the past all feel relevant to this world and to these characters, and that is why the in-universe manipulation of time is such an asset to the storytelling of One Piece. With each new answer or hint, the audience is constantly seeking more reasons why this story is the one to pay attention to in this sprawling world. And finally, the last element of time that One Piece uses to its advantage is the sheer length of the story itself. The intimidating long-form nature of One Piece's storytelling intricately ties it to time in a way few other series have ever managed, let alone successfully. One Piece is in a small category of ongoing media properties that have managed to continue for decades, and it has done so not through spin-offs or reboots or sequels, but in one narrative that follows the same group of core characters. The most insane part of that success is that no one is clamoring for One Piece to come to an end anytime soon. There's a pretty common agreement with entertainment that if it goes on for too long, it simply gets worse. Vince Gilligan explicitly stated a fear of decreasing quality as a reason he brought Breaking Bad to an end. The Simpsons has been running for even longer than One Piece, and I cannot find a single person who cheers on that fact. Most fans will say the show peaked before its 10th birthday, and yet it still limps on in a continual slump of low quality. My point is that most series, if allowed to run for too long, will run themselves into the ground. And yet, so far, One Piece has not. Unlike the fall of The Simpsons, One Piece continues to gain popularity. Within 25 years, it has outsold over 80 years of Batman comic books. To this day, One Piece remains a juggernaut, continuing to gather new fans like myself and my friends. Speaking as a fan, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who shares this sentiment, I appreciate the history of effort that has gone into crafting this series, and as someone who has invested a huge amount of time into consuming it, I will be there at the very end, even if the last 100 episodes are total dog shit, because the time I've invested makes me feel as though I'm a small part of this larger journey. One Piece is one of the few ongoing media properties that continues to have people actively excited about it 25 years later, and that is because of the sheer scale of time and effort that has gone into creating and being a fan of the series. However, that is the more meta side of things. The length of One Piece's storytelling wouldn't matter if the narrative was garbage. The true strength of One Piece's long-form storytelling is that it allows for a sense of narrative progression. One Piece has the space to flesh out its core characters, build out an extremely rich world with unique cultures, complicated politics, and a deep history, all while driving toward the same goal that the series started off with when Luffy was all alone, sailing in a small dinghy. Each new chapter or episode furthers this journey. While there are other long-form stories that effectively world build and have heartfelt character arcs, Naruto and Dragon Ball come to mind, One Piece is built more like a Greek epic poem. It is an odyssey, a seemingly never-ending quest with a clear goal at the end, but with many trials and tribulations along the way that the characters are constantly sailing forward into. One Piece is able to effectively marry the setting of its story, as well as the overarching goal of the main character, with the time it takes for the story to be told. You cannot say the same about One Piece's competitors. Naruto wants to be Hokage, but the story around Naruto becoming Hokage doesn't feel like a purposely written adventure that necessarily needed to be as long as it was. Goku just wants to get stronger. He has no real end goal, and thus, Dragon Ball really could have concluded at any point, which is why even after the series ended, the story can continue. One Piece is about Luffy's desire to become king of the pirates, and the globetrotting journey he needs to take in order to find the One Piece and become that king. The story being told necessitates a long adventure through which a massive portion of this world is exposed to us. Thus, the time that One Piece takes to tell its story is not a feature of a successful series, but it is the singular trait that makes One Piece as unique and successful as it is. One Piece is one of the most successful stories ever written, and as an aspiring writer myself, I wanted to take a look at what set One Piece apart, what made its story so strong. Through the development of audience patience, a deft hand in creating a real sense of in-universe history, and the incredible length of the narrative, it is clear that time is the core storytelling strength that makes One Piece so unique. Of course, there are many other elements that set One Piece apart, like its colorful world and wonderfully written cast, but if you really thought about why you love this series as much as you do, I'd wager the reason would be connected to one of the three elements I discussed here today. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think makes One Piece so unique? Why do you think the story has managed to be so successful for as long as it has? If you enjoyed this video, which is a major change from my usual content, please let me know by leaving a like, and if you want to see other essay-style videos like these for One Piece or other series, please leave a comment. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. I'm so happy that I get to make videos like these and that people actually watch them. And now, I will finally shut up.